The Ural Mountains rise like an ancient spine across the heart of Russia, a rugged and mysterious barrier between Europe and Asia. Their slopes are draped in silent forests, their peaks often lost in mist and cloud, and beneath their rocky facades lie stories older than recorded time. For centuries, the Urals have whispered hints of secrets, strange monuments and mysterious artifacts that suggest an echo of a prehistoric civilization long forgotten. Here, far from the familiar stone monuments of Egypt or Central America, researchers claim to have discovered a colossal pyramid, an artificial structure 4 times larger than the Great Pyramid of Khufu in Giza. Partially overgrown by forest and hidden for millennia, its existence suggests that an ancient and advanced civilization may once have flourished in this frozen wilderness. The discovery was not made by an academic expedition, but by members of the Wild North Travel Club, a group of seasoned explorers and adventurers. While studying satellite imagery in search of new trekking routes through the rugged mountain ranges, they noticed something extraordinary. On the maps, in an isolated area known as the Naroda Ityens Ridge, stood a mountain with an almost perfect pyramidal shape. From the satellite perspective, its 4 triangular faces were strikingly symmetrical and, perhaps even more astonishing, aligned precisely with the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. For the explorers, this was more than a curiosity. It was a potential revelation. Was this truly a pyramid or merely a trick of light and shadow on a natural peak? The pyramid's base measured approximately 1 kilometer per side, and its height was an imposing 200 meters, making it larger in volume than Khufu's Great Pyramid. And yet, this monumental form stood in one of the least accessible regions on Earth, far from any known centers of ancient civilization. At the top, the explorers found something unexpected: a small, deliberately constructed stone cairn, similar to ritual piles built by Siberian shamans to honor spirits. Who had placed it here? In the documentary by Wild North, the team showcased what they described as footprints of a giant. However, it's hard to tell if these are genuine footprints or something natural. Nevertheless, there are numerous other footprints of giants that look unmistakably authentic all across Russia. In fact, even a tooth from a giant was recently discovered in these mysterious lands. Interestingly, according to the Khanty and Mansi peoples who inhabit the region, such giant beings are not mythical. They speak of the Yagni, a hair-covered humanoid akin to the Western Bigfoot or Yeti, said to roam the mountains and forests since time immemorial. Some say these creatures are dangerous, and even link them to the brutal case known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, when in 1959, 9 experienced hikers mysteriously died in the Dyatlov Pass of the Ural Mountains under unexplained circumstances, with their tent found slashed open and their bodies showing strange injuries. Strange beings, including giants, are not unheard of in the Urals. In fact, in the far northern Urals, where the tundra stretches toward the Arctic seas, stand the 7 towering stone pillars of Manpupuner. These colossal natural megaliths, sculpted by eons of wind and frost, loom like sentinels on a remote plateau. To the scientific eye, they are accidents of geology, but to the Mansi they are something far more: giants turned to stone by a mighty shaman in primeval times. The giants, legend says, were marching south to destroy the Mansi people. The great shaman, invoking the spirits of the mountains, halted them at dawn with a single word of power, and the sun's first light petrified the invaders forever. There they remain, frozen mid-step as hulking silhouettes against the sky, embodiments of an ancient warning. Could such legends be faint recollections of an age when colossal beings, or perhaps humans of giant ambition, shaped the destiny of these lands? But let's get back to the mysterious pyramid. Vladimir Onashchenko made a discovery that could link the Ural pyramids to a global pattern. Drawing a line from Mount Kailash in Tibet to what some ancient maps indicate as Earth's former North Pole in Greenland, he found that it passed directly through the Ural Pyramid summit. Along the way, it also intersected several sacred lakes, including Issyk-Kul in Kyrgyzstan and Lake Balkhash in Kazakhstan. Even more astonishingly, when the positions of the local pyramids were plotted on a map, they mirrored the pattern of the constellation Orion, the same celestial alignment long claimed for the pyramids of Giza. The main Ural pyramid corresponded to Betelgeuse, the red supergiant marking Orion's shoulder. Minor discrepancies in placement could be explained by the precession of the equinoxes, the slow shift of the Earth's rotational axis over millennia. Adjusting for this, the team suggested the alignment may have been exact around 10,500 BCE, a date also associated by alternative researchers like Graham Hancock with a period of great global cataclysms. If the dating estimates are correct, the Ural pyramids would predate not only the Egyptian civilization, but also the end of the last ice age. Were they a legacy of a global civilization that spanned continents, connecting the Urals with Tibet, Mesoamerica, and Egypt? Were they intended as beacons, power stations, or even archives of ancient knowledge? Or were they simply the northern outpost of a forgotten culture whose heartland now lies beneath the oceans? But if there was an advanced prehistoric civilization in the Urals of Russia, what else did they leave behind? In the 1990s, a series of geological surveys were undertaken in the eastern Ural region as part of a search for gold and other valuable minerals. The locations were remote and inhospitable, lying in the upper reaches of rivers such as the Kozhim, Narada, and Balbanyu. These waterways cut through ancient geological formations, their banks composed of sediments laid down over vast stretches of time. During routine sampling, workers began noticing unusual metallic particles mixed in with the gravel. At first glance, they were unremarkable: tiny twisted fragments, bits of wire, and spirals no larger than a few millimeters. But when examined under a microscope, their true nature emerged. Under magnification, these fragments revealed themselves as microspirals and coils, some wound in perfect proportions, others tapering to fine points barely 1/100th of a millimeter thick. A few were so small they could only be clearly seen with high-powered electron microscopy. The shapes were deliberate, regular, and symmetrical, the hallmarks of intelligent design, not random mineral formations. Many had a uniform pitch and shape, resembling components of modern electronic equipment or mechanical devices. Equally puzzling were their materials. Analysis showed they were made from copper, tungsten, and molybdenum, metals still used today in high-performance engineering. Tungsten, in particular, has an extremely high melting point, over 3,400 degrees Celsius, 6,100 degrees Fahrenheit, and is used in aerospace and military applications. The presence of such materials in these tiny objects suggested they were designed for functions requiring exceptional heat resistance and durability. The artifacts were embedded in sediment layers dated, using stratigraphic analysis, to between 20,000 and 300,000 years ago. The younger date was astonishing enough, predating all known ancient civilizations. The older estimate placed them long before Homo sapiens is thought to have developed any form of technology whatsoever. It's important to note, these were not found in disturbed soils, but in deep alluvial deposits alongside other geological features used for dating. This meant they could not have been recent contamination. Their age appeared tied to the sediments themselves. If the older dating is correct, these nanostructures were crafted in a time when, according to mainstream science, our ancestors were primitive hunter-gatherers, if they existed at all in this region. One hypothesis is that they are remnants of a highly advanced prehistoric civilization, one that possessed technologies equal to or surpassing our own, but which has long since vanished from the historical record. Such a civilization might have been destroyed by cataclysms, leaving only scattered traces of its existence. The Urals, with their strategic location and mineral wealth, could have been one of its industrial or scientific hubs. Another theory leans toward the ancient astronaut hypothesis. The precision and materials of the coils resemble components that might be found in spacecraft, satellites, or high-energy equipment. Advocates of this view suggest they could be debris from extraterrestrial probes left behind during exploration of Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago. Some researchers proposed a natural origin, suggesting the shapes could be the product of pirate whiskers or metallic crystallization. However, the consistent dimensions, precise winding, and choice of materials, tungsten and molybdenum, argue strongly against purely geological processes. A skeptical position holds that the artifacts could be modern debris introduced into the sediments through industrial activity. But the remoteness of the find sites, combined with the dating of the undisturbed layers, makes this explanation problematic. If the objects are genuine and ancient, they imply an understanding of nanotechnology and precision metallurgy far beyond anything we associate with the prehistoric world. The production of tungsten and molybdenum components requires not only mining and refining, but advanced furnaces and machining capabilities. It is worth noting that the same broader region has yielded other enigmatic finds. In the secluded depths of the Sharia Mountains in southern Siberia, a secret has lain hidden, undisturbed for thousands of years. It was in this remote wilderness, far from the prying eyes of civilization, that a discovery was made, one that would challenge the very bedrock of our understanding of human history. It was in 2013 when a team of 19 researchers led by Georgy Sidorov embarked on an expedition to explore the area located on Gornaya Shoria, a mountain rising 3,600 feet above sea level. Situated in a secluded region of Russia, this area was once inaccessible, guarded by checkpoints during the Soviet era. The expedition was initiated based on intriguing reports from the area about the presence of numerous unusual megalithic objects in this remote location. Upon arriving at the specified location, the research team was shocked at what they stumbled upon. It appeared as a gigantic supermegalith, so mysterious that it defied the chronicles of human history. The Gornaya Shoria megaliths, as they came to be known, consisted of immense stone blocks, appearing to be granite, characterized by flat surfaces and right angles. What was even more shocking was the estimated weight of the stones, which was more than 3,000 tons. This would make the Gornaya Shoria megaliths the largest megalithic stones ever discovered in human history. The systematic arrangement of the granite rocks hinted at intentional design, a purposeful architectural effort that went beyond mere natural formation. They were meticulously stacked one atop the other, reaching a height of approximately 140 feet. The sheer size and scale of these stones immediately posed a baffling question. How were such enormous blocks carved, transported, and assembled in such a remote and challenging landscape? According to Sidorov's notes, the structures were around 100,000 years old, a timeline that pushed back the boundaries of known human architectural endeavors by tens of thousands of years. This revelation was not just surprising, it was revolutionary. It suggested the presence of a civilization with advanced knowledge and capabilities long before what was traditionally accepted in the annals of human history. Georgy Sidorov and his team were astonished by the colossal size of the structure. The magnitude of the discovery of a monument like this was incredible, one that had remained hidden for eons, a silent witness to the passage of time and possibly to the rise and fall of an unknown civilization. The insights and observations written by Sidorov would prove crucial in unraveling the mysteries of this enigmatic site. The sight of the huge granite blocks, meticulously stacked in a wall of polygonal masonry, suggested a level of architectural sophistication that was previously unimagined in that era. Sidorov noted the construction's resemblance to other ancient megalithic structures such as Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, yet unique in its own right. The comparison was not just in terms of the sheer size, but also in the mystery of the purpose and functionality of the site. The dimensions of the structure as recorded by Sidorov were staggering. The wall, as he referred to it, was around 700 feet in length. The individual stones were each about 65 feet in length and between 16 and 23 feet in height. These figures were not just numbers. They represented a monumental human effort, a feat that seemed nearly impossible given the presumed technological limitations of the time. Sidorov and his team considered various theories regarding the origin of the structure. One prevailing hypothesis was that it was the product of an ancient civilization, one that possessed technology and knowledge far beyond what was previously thought possible. This theory raised numerous questions about the capabilities of ancient peoples and the potential existence of a sophisticated civilization that had somehow been lost to history. Adding to the enigma, Sidorov reported that there were circular holes on some of the stones, seemingly perfect in roundness. Even more astonishing were the indications of melting observed on the stones. It appeared as though in certain areas the stones had been melted, hollowed out, or reshaped. Sidorov attributed these meltings to some sort of ancient rock fusion that was implemented on the wall. He also wrote of the possibility of a powerful thermonuclear explosion or a similar destructive force, as there were many megalithic rocks that were scattered around the site, seemingly blown away by a powerful force. All of this raised even more questions about the purpose of the structure and the fate of its builders. The complexity of the site was further highlighted by Sidorov's description of additional structures in the vicinity. He spoke of a strange cyclopean construction of vertically set boulders standing on a giant foundation. Moreover, Sidorov recounted how during their expedition they encountered unexplainable phenomena. The compasses of the entire group behaved erratically, deviating inexplicably from the megaliths. This phenomenon led to speculation about a negative geomagnetic field in the area, possibly a residual effect of some sort of ancient energy field. This phenomenon of geomagnetic anomalies is not unique only to Gornaya Sharia, as it has been observed at other ancient sites around the world. It often leads to discussions about the advanced understanding of the Earth's magnetic fields by ancient civilizations and their ability to manipulate or utilize these forces in ways that are not yet understood by modern science. Unfortunately, the worsening weather conditions limited the ability of Sidorov and his expedition to explore further, yet the data collected provided invaluable insights into the layout and scale of the ruins. As the team departed, the sense of mystery only deepened. The immense size and unexplained origins of the Gornaya Sharia megaliths represented a puzzle that was far from being solved. Yet, the question arises, if these structures were indeed built by humans and not a natural formation, then how could an advanced civilization thrive in such an inhospitable location, a place known for its harsh climate and extremely severe winters? What would motivate them to settle in such a challenging environment? Wouldn't it have been simpler for them to migrate southward to warmer territories and establish their settlements there? During the peak of the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, Siberia, along with much of the northern hemisphere, experienced a profound climatic shift. Despite the colder climate and the spread of ice sheets, however, the conditions in Siberia were relatively more favorable than those in Europe and North America. In contrast to the extensive glaciation that enveloped North America and Northern Europe, Siberia was not completely covered by ice sheets. The region was predominantly characterized by the Mammoth Steppe, an expansive biome marked by cold, dry conditions, yet abundant in grasses and herbaceous plants. This unique ecosystem supported a diverse array of megafauna, such as woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and other large herbivores, as well as the predators that hunted them. This rich environment provided ample resources for the support of human populations, offering both food and materials essential for survival. In fact, archaeological discoveries such as tools and artifacts have already proven that there were human populations living in Siberia during the Ice Age. The most fascinating of these discoveries was when Russian scientists uncovered a site corresponding to the last ice age where ancient hunters lived. The site was filled with stone tools, ivory weapons, and the butchered bones of mammoths, bisons, bears, lions, and hares, all animals that would have been available to hunters during that ice age period. Using a dating technique that measures the ratios of carbon, the researchers determined the artifacts were deposited at the site about 30,000 years before the present. That would be about twice as old as Monteverde in Chile, the most ancient human life known in the American continents. Donald Grayson, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Washington in Seattle, said the discovery is very significant because it is so much earlier than any other proven evidence of people living in the frigid lands of Siberia. In contrast, much of northern Europe was engulfed by thick ice sheets, making vast areas uninhabitable. The ice severely limited human mobility and resource availability. Human settlements in Europe were primarily concentrated in the southern regions, which, though free of ice, still endured a cold climate. These areas served as a refuge for humans and animals, but the resources available were scant compared to the abundant mammoth steppe of Siberia. In this context, if the Siberian megaliths were indeed erected during the Ice Age, it suggests that their builders were part of a society that not only adapted to, but also prospered in the cold climate. The relative wealth of resources in the Mammoth Steppe would have supported larger human populations, enabling them to engage in significant construction projects. The discovery of the Gornaya Sharia megaliths has also reignited interest in alternative historical theories. Some researchers have speculated about the existence of a pre-flood civilization, a sophisticated society that existed before a cataclysmic event wiped out much of humanity's early history. This theory aligns with global myths and legends, which often speak of advanced civilizations that vanished under mysterious circumstances. Intriguingly, the site of Gornaya Sharia, despite its potential historical and archaeological significance, has not been the subject of any follow-up research and archaeological efforts. This lack of continued investigation into such a potentially revealing site raises several questions and adds a layer of mystery to the already enigmatic stones. The official stance of the Russian Federation regarding these megalithic structures is that they are merely natural formations. Yet without a comprehensive and thorough archaeological examination, how can we be sure that the massive and unusually structured stones are purely the product of natural geological processes? Numerous observers are skeptical that the stones are a product of nature, citing their precise angles and impeccable arrangement as evidence. They point out that the site is very similar to other megalithic sites around the world that were undoubtedly man-made. The possibility that these megaliths are remnants of a lost civilization or a forgotten chapter in human history cannot be entirely dismissed without a thorough investigation. What could a proper excavation reveal about the origins and purpose of these stones? Could they possibly be linked to ancient human activity, or are they indeed just an unusual but natural geological formation? Moreover, the broader implications of such a discovery, if it were proven to be made by humans, are significant. It could potentially rewrite parts of our history, offering new insights into the capabilities and spread of ancient civilizations. It could challenge our understanding of the technological and architectural skills of our ancestors and provide a new perspective on the ancient world. Do you believe the site is a natural formation or the product of a long-lost advanced ancient civilization?
Новой Меккой для туристов может стать село Чусовое. Там обнаружили загадочное сооружение. Есть версии, что это наследие заводчиков Демидовых или даже древней цивилизации.
In the remote Ural Mountains lies the village of Chusovo, home to a stone wall unlike any other in Russia. This structure, a long quay or harbor wall built of enormous, irregularly shaped stone blocks, immediately evokes comparisons to ancient megalithic sites in Peru, Egypt, or Bolivia. In fact, the similarity is so profound that the wall even possesses the famous stone insertions that can only be found on the oldest, most mysterious, and most complex megalithic structures all around the world. For example, the wall at Ahu Vinapu on Easter Island, the Osirian of Abydos in Egypt, the Coricancha complex in Peru, and even all the way to the Osaka Castle in Japan. Is this a simple coincidence, or an evidence for a now lost global prehistoric civilization? The wall's polygonal masonry, stones fitted in a jigsaw puzzle-like manner, is atypical for Russia, so much so that it sent shockwaves through the internet when it was discovered by explorers in 2014. Could this be the work of a lost prehistoric advanced civilization? One that built enormous megalithic structures in what is now Russia before completely disappearing from history? The story began in December 2014, when a documentary film titled The Miracle of Chusovo, Polygonal Masonry in the Urals, premiered in Russia and went viral, especially among enthusiasts of ancient mysteries. The film was produced by the travelers club Dostoyaniye Planeti, meaning Heritage of the Planet, presented this remarkable discovery. In it, a team of explorers travels to Chusovoy, on the middle Ural region's Chusovaya River, after hearing rumors of a strange megalithic structure, a quay wall built with polygonal masonry not typical for Russia. They trek through overgrown brush to find a massive stone wall, partially buried in an old river inlet, constructed of huge multi-angled granite blocks fitted tightly together. In the words of one of the explorers, All participants of the expedition felt the thrill of a pioneer standing on the verge of solving a great mystery. Perhaps we are about to see something that will overturn all of historical science and force academic historians to finally acknowledge the presence of pre-flood civilizations on the territory of Russia. Bold words indeed. The documentary's narration marvels at the wall's uncanny resemblance to megalithic walls in places like Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman, or Baalbek. Yet, here, it is in a humble Russian village, in the middle of nowhere, a location with no historical records of any sophisticated ancient civilizations capable of anything like this. The stone wall at Chusovo stretches for approximately 85 meters in length, around 280 feet, rising to a height of up to 4 meters, over 13 feet. In some sections, the structure is composed of massive, irregularly shaped granite blocks, each weighing several tons. Some of the stones measure over 2 meters in length, about 6.5 feet, with visible faces up to 1.5 meters high, roughly 5 feet, and are meticulously fitted together in a polygonal pattern, forming a solid sloping retaining wall. The wall follows the contour of the ravine with an angled incline, suggesting intentional design to resist hydraulic pressure or erosion. No mortar is visible between the blocks today, lending it the appearance of dry-set megalithic construction, though erosion may have removed any binding material over the centuries. The base of the wall is partially buried under layers of earth and forest debris, implying significant age and long-term sedimentation. The explorers note that no similar structure exists anywhere else in the Urals. Local residents had long known of the old stone wall in the ravine, but considered it just a relic of the past. To the filmmakers, however, it was potentially something far more ancient and earth-shaking. Perhaps the reason this massive granite polygonal wall is not famous worldwide is due to the fact that here, in the 18th century, a wealthy industrialist family, the Demidovs, built an iron smelting factory. And where the massive wall stands, the Demidov family constructed a river harbor. It was generally accepted that the massive wall was also built by the family as a retaining wall. However, when examining deeper, this belief seems to falter. First, all known factory structures they built were wooden or used only rough, smaller stones. The local technology around 1725 to 1730, when the Demidov factory started, would not have included advanced stone cutting or heavy lifting equipment. Transporting and placing multi-ton blocks in an isolated Ural village in the 18th century would have been extraordinarily costly and difficult. Even if the Demidov family had the funds and equipment to sponsor and construct the wall, it would virtually make no sense for them to do so. Why would they pour such resources into a retaining wall for a river harbor? Moreover, the granite or diorite rock of the blocks is not found locally. There are no nearby quarries or natural outcrops of this stone, implying it had to be brought from far away. Rumors even claim the blocks were held together by metal rods or pins. One block has a hole that might be from an iron rod, suggesting a construction technique beyond typical 18th century masonry. Additionally, when we examine the old plans of the Demidov factory preserved in the local museum, we find a most surprising fact. The wall does not appear anywhere in the old plans. There's a 1735 map and another undated early plan of the factory, and they both show the dam and a sluice on the Shatanka stream, constructed by the industrialists. But stunningly, the giant polygonal wall is not present in any of the construction plans and documents. If the wall was built with the factory in the 1720s, why was it missing on plans drawn a few years after the factory's founding? Could it be that the Demidovs people discovered an existing ancient structure and merely repurposed it as a quay? In other words, Perhaps an older civilization built this harbor, which the 18th century industrialists later inherited. When the film on the polygonal megastructure was released, the impact it created was substantial. Suddenly, the quiet, remote village of Chusovoi became the focus of intense speculation on forums and blogs. The phrase polygonal masonry in the Urals started trending, pointing curious readers to Chusovoi. The internet buzzed with the possibility that Russia, like Peru or Egypt, had its own out-of-place megalith. In August 2015, the Sverdlovsk Oblast Gazette noted the frenzy and summarized the film's claims. They stated their frustration that the wall was as old as the pyramids in Egypt and the pre-Columbian structures in South America, and not a single academic or archaeologist had yet weighed in. But let's examine the site deeper. The wall's blocks are huge, some up to 2 meters long and weigh several tons. None of the 18th century structures in the region use such construction. Contemporary accounts and surviving ruins indicate the Demidov-era buildings were largely wooden or made of small stones with mortar, nothing on this megalithic scale. The wall still stands virtually intact and has endured centuries, yet all other factory buildings disintegrated long ago. This anomaly suggests the wall's construction technique was not typical locally, possibly indicating an external, perhaps prehistoric origin. If the Demidov family could build in massive stone, why was this wall the only example? Why not construct the factory or warehouses with the same durability? Geological examination noted that the wall is built of granite blocks. The surrounding geology of Chusovoi has no such stone. It would have to be quarried and hauled from afar. For an early 1720s operation, bringing thousands of tons of stone from a distant quarry, likely dozens of versts away, by horse cart would be a colossal effort. And where are the remains of the quarry? As of today, no nearby abandoned quarry of suitable stone was known, fueling speculation that perhaps the stone was cut in antiquity and simply found on site. Building a stone wall of this scale in the 1720s would have required advanced engineering, yet there weren't any heavy lifting cranes in the Ural hinterlands at that time. Indeed, early 18th century Russian factories did use masonry for dams and sluices, but typically employed smaller stones or bricks and wooden cranes or gin poles for lifting. Nothing like multi-ton monoliths. The Chusovo wall also has an inclined profile, leaning into the earth, a design seen in ancient retaining walls but uncommon in our region's historical civil engineering. The explorers argued it would have been prohibitively expensive and inefficient for Demidov to undertake such a project given simpler alternatives. If not strictly necessary, why would a practical businessman invest in a luxurious mega-wall for a minor factory outpost? In fact, the Demidovs owned several factories, and this factory in Chusovo was actually one of their smallest. No other factory of theirs has anything even remotely similar to the massive polygonal wall. The widespread interest in Chusovoi's wall had a very positive side effect. It drew the attention of professional researchers. As one commentator noted, attempts to explain historical phenomena by invoking ancient advanced civilizations often point to gaps in our historical knowledge, and the Chusovo case was a perfect example. Because the early history of the harbor wasn't well documented, wild speculation filled the void. The solution, then, was to do what archivists and historians do best: dig into the records to uncover the truth. The stones are so perfectly aligned in places that even modern tools would struggle to replicate the fit without considerable planning, precise measuring, and advanced cutting equipment. In the megalithic traditions of Peru and Egypt, legends speak of stones being softened, levitated, or transported by sound. While mainstream science scoffs at such ideas, the presence of these untraceable multi-ton blocks in Chusovoi adds fuel to the speculative fire. Could an ancient people, possessing techniques lost to time, have placed them here? Or was this the work of 18th century Russian industrialists? And yet, there is no documentation, no blueprints, and no evidence of such tools having existed in the Urals at the time of the supposed 18th century construction. Each block in the wall weighs several tons, with some estimated to exceed 10 tons. These are not decorative stones, they are massive megaliths, requiring tremendous effort to extract, shape, transport, and place with surgical accuracy. How were these stones moved? No cranes or lifting devices capable of handling such weight were available in this remote region during the early 19th century. Even if primitive winches or wooden scaffolding were used, the effort and resources required to create a simple harbor wall in this manner would have been astronomical. Why would local industrialists invest so heavily in a structure that served a purely utilitarian purpose? If this were merely a harbor, why use such enormous blocks? Why not use wood, small bricks, or rubble masonry, all of which were cheaper, easier to handle, and perfectly sufficient for 18th century hydraulic engineering? Unless, of course, the wall was not built by 18th century industrialists at all, but inherited, discovered, partially buried, and repurposed by later settlers who lacked the tools to construct such a monument but saw its utility nonetheless. Some of the stones display signs of significant erosion, deep lichen growth, and a natural weathered patina inconsistent with only 2 centuries of exposure. The wall has been partially buried over time, overgrown with moss and forest, and bears the unmistakable marks of age beyond recorded memory. If built in the 1700s, the wall should still show sharp chisel marks, mortar residue, or clear structural logic matching known engineering standards of that period. Instead, the structure feels ancient, weather-worn, and deeply integrated with its environment, more like a forgotten ruin than a piece of 18th century industrial infrastructure. In one of the blocks, a strange hole was discovered, possibly drilled to hold a metal pin. This technique of pinning massive stones together using bronze or iron rods is seen in the construction of ancient sites like Baalbek and the Osirion in Egypt, and is unknown in early 18th century Ural engineering. Where would local laborers have learned such techniques? How would they have forged such tools in a region still developing its basic metallurgical infrastructure? Moreover, there are no visible lifting hooks, chisel slips, or man-made tool scars. Instead, the cuts appear precise, smooth, almost as if molded or laser cut. This detail has led some fringe researchers to theorize that the stones were shaped using lost technologies, vibrational tools, acoustic levitation, or even ancient energy sources that defy modern understanding. If we consider Chusovo's wall not as a standalone mystery, but as part of a broader pattern of enigmatic architecture across Eurasia, a compelling picture emerges. In recent decades, evidence has surfaced suggesting that the Ural Mountains may have once been home to an unknown advanced culture, possibly connected to the myths of Hyperborea or to pre-Ice Age civilizations whose memory survives only in folklore. The Hyperborean theory is a historical and mythological hypothesis suggesting that an ancient, advanced civilization once thrived in the far north, particularly in the Arctic, Siberia, or the Ural Mountains, long before the rise of known ancient cultures like Sumer, Egypt, or Greece. The term Hyperborea originates from ancient Greek mythology, where it was described as a utopian land beyond the north wind, Boreas, a place of eternal spring, inhabited by noble, enlightened people who lived in peace, possessed advanced knowledge, and were close to the gods. Writers like Herodotus, Pindar, and Diodorus Siculus describe Hyperborea as a real place, serene, fertile, and blessed by Apollo. Like Atlantis, Hyperborea is believed to have been destroyed by a global cataclysm, for example, pole shift, glaciation, or flood. But similar myths are present in the indigenous Siberian and Uralic tribes of the time, which tell stories of ancient white-skinned, tall, godlike beings who arrived from the north or vanished into the mountains, echoes, some claim, of Hyperborean ancestors. Geologists have confirmed that parts of the Arctic were temperate thousands of years ago, with fossils of warm climate flora and fauna found in now frozen regions. This supports the idea that the Arctic could once have supported a civilization, possibly Hyperborea, before a pole shift or crustal displacement moved the region into the ice. Some proponents point to striking similarities between ancient languages and symbols, from Vedic Sanskrit to Norse runes, suggesting a lost common origin in the north. After the cataclysm, the survivors of this culture allegedly migrated south, seeding knowledge into emerging civilizations such as India, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica. Some researchers claim that megalithic sites around the world align with an ancient Arctic axis, implying a former global civilization centered near the North Pole. Chusovoi, with its mysterious polygonal wall, is viewed as one such outpost or remnant. Mainstream historians insist that the Chusovo Wall was built in the early 1800s by factory workers under the direction of a man named Zotov, but the wall itself refuses to cooperate with that explanation. It is too perfect, too massive, too mysterious. In a world where countless ancient sites have been misclassified as recent due to lack of documentation, Chusovo may be one more example of prehistory hiding in plain sight. Perhaps one day, deeper excavations and objective analysis will reveal layers beneath the wall, or tools left behind, or even inscriptions that confirm its true origin. Until then, it stands, quiet, monumental, and utterly anachronistic. Curiously, along the middle stretches of the Urals, hidden on cliff faces above tranquil rivers, prehistoric artists left behind cryptic markings. At first glance, these rock pictograms, some painted in red ochre, others etched into stone, seem like the common fare of ancient rock art: stylized animals, hunting scenes, zigzag motifs. But in certain spots, especially along the banks of the Tagal and Rej rivers, the imagery becomes strangely abstract. There are grids of interlocking hexagons, chain-like lines of linked shapes, star-like bursts, and what look like intricate diagrams. For generations, these odd patterns were a puzzle. Archaeologists dated them to some 5 millennia ago, the dawn of civilization, yet their meaning remained elusive. Then, in the late 20th century, a Russian chemist named Vladimir Avinsky noticed something uncanny. Some of the geometric patterns etched on these rocks closely resemble modern chemical structures, including polymers and aromatic compounds. Avinsky shared these pictograms with chemists, many of whom confirmed the visual similarity to these chemical formulas, raising the question: how could Bronze Age artists depict molecular structures discovered only recently? One large honeycomb pattern mirrors the lattice of graphite. A series of connected hexagons recalls the formula for certain hydrocarbons. A tangle of zigzags is a dead ringer for the outline of a long polymer chain. It is as if the ancient artist had been sketching the very building blocks of matter. How could people 5,000 years ago conceive such shapes? Mainstream scholars offer that these patterns might be stylized representations of tribal nets, beehives, or simply abstract symbols with coincidental resemblances. But others wonder if it's coincidence at all. The remote possibility arises that those who made these drawings possessed knowledge far ahead of their time, or perhaps, as some storytellers muse, they were recording teachings from someone or something that revealed secrets of the unseen world. Recent analytical research continues to shed light on these pictograms. One study used microanalytical techniques to examine pigments and stylistic features, reinforcing their attribution to the Neolithic Bronze Age and documenting over 90 sites across the Urals with such artworks. While most pictograms remain undated directly, nearby cave art from Shulgan Tash has been reliably dated to 20,000 to 36,000 years ago via uranium-thorium dating of calcite layers, demonstrating the Ural region's deep history of rock art. The Ural pictograms continue to challenge our understanding of prehistoric communication. Are they purely artistic and symbolic representations of local fauna, rituals, or tools? Or do they hold encoded information, perhaps depicting structures akin to modern chemical formulas? The resemblance of hexagonal networks and chain-like diagrams to molecules such as polyethylene or graphite is visually compelling. Yet, the absence of corroborating evidence, toolkits, written records, or sequential learning traditions makes the chemical hypothesis speculative. But there are far more ancient discoveries made in the Urals. Deeper into the forests of the mid-Ural region, an even older enigma emerged from the earth. In 1894, Russian gold prospectors dredging a peat bog near the Shigir River made a startling discovery. A huge wooden idol, preserved in the antiseptic mud as if in a time capsule. Standing over twice the height of a man, the Shigir idol soon proved to be nearly 11,000 years old, carved at the end of the last ice age, a time when vast glaciers were just retreating from the land. This dark, larch-wood statue is unlike any other in the world. Its surface is covered in mysterious geometric motifs, chevrons, herringbone patterns, zigzag lines crisscrossing the figure's body. At its upper end is a carefully carved face. The idol's true form might have been a totem pole of spirits or gods, a message encoded in symbols when writing was not yet dreamed of. What do these markings mean? Some researchers have proposed they could be a form of proto-language, a storyteller's code about creation, or a map of the ancient cosmos as understood by Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. Others believe the patterns had a ritual purpose, meant to ward off evil or protect sacred grounds. The local legends are long lost, but standing before the Shigir idol now, it resides in a museum in Yekaterinburg. One cannot shake the feeling of communion with a deep prehistoric intelligence. Its creators, living in a world of mammoths and untamed nature, took the time to carve and ornament this monument with meticulous care. Why? Was it simply an offering to spirits for a good hunt? Or could it have been a relic of guidance from an advanced shamanic culture, or even a remnant of some long-lost society's art? When the idol was new, no cities existed on Earth. Yet here is art, complex and symbolic, hinting that the peoples of the Urals carried sparks of sophistication in that dim age. Those who search for evidence of a lost civilization often look not only for artifacts, but for architecture, for the ruins of structures that such a people would have built. Scattered through the forests and highlands are megaliths and cyclopean oddities that raise eyebrows. Deep in the untamed wilderness of the southern Urals lies Archaim, a site enveloped in mystery. This enigmatic site stands as a guardian of a forgotten epic, offering a mesmerizing glimpse into an ancient world that once thrived in secrecy. Often referred to as Russia's Stonehenge, its discovery in the late 20th century sent shockwaves through the historical and archaeological communities. Its discovery was so groundbreaking for human history that even the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, visited the site. His visit not only underscored the site's importance to Russian heritage, but also elevated it to a symbol of national pride and a testament to the unforeseen depths of human civilization. Dating back to the 17th century BC, Archaim is not merely an archaeological treasure. It serves as a portal to a civilization that nearly slipped through the annals of time, echoing the brilliance of the minds that once roamed its lands. The discovery of Archaim, amidst the vast and largely uncharted expanse of Russia, prompts a stirring question. How did such a complex and advanced civilization flourish in this remote corner of the world? The immensity of Russia, with its varied landscapes and harsh climates, has long posed a formidable challenge to explorers. Yet, against these odds, Archaim stands as a beacon, indicating the presence of an advanced society in the Urals at a time when most human settlements were still emerging. This remarkable find challenges our understanding of ancient human societies and their geographical spread. Archaim's discovery proves that our planet harbors more secrets than we have uncovered. It leads us to ponder, could there be other hidden settlements like Archaim, silently waiting to unveil the lost chapters of human history? The sophisticated architecture and cosmic alignments of this site further accentuate its significance. Archaim's alignment with celestial bodies indicates an extraordinary comprehension of astronomy and cosmology. Delving further into the study of Archaim, we will unlock a gateway to a richer understanding of our common human legacy, as well as the enigmatic riddles that consistently mesmerize our understanding of early civilizations. At first glance, Archaim's structure presents a fortified settlement, encircled by two concentric circular walls. The outer wall, approximately 520 feet in diameter, and the inner wall create a defensive buffer, showcasing a strategic approach to urban design and security. Each of the walls speaks to the architectural skill and resourcefulness of the Archaim inhabitants. The utilization of materials that are challenging to manipulate or process, combined with advanced construction techniques, indicates a deep understanding of engineering and environmental adaptation. The layout and scale of Archaim also raise questions about the technology and tools available to its builders. The sheer size of the stone slabs, some weighing several tons, and the precision with which they were placed indicate a level of expertise that challenges conventional understanding of Neolithic societies. This has led to various theories, ranging from the use of primitive yet ingenious engineering techniques to more speculative ideas involving advanced lost technologies. Inside the walls, Archaim reveals its true architectural splendor. The city was meticulously planned, featuring about 60 dwellings radiating like spokes from the central square. Each house, rectangular in shape, was ingeniously built with its own furnace, a feature that highlights the advanced domestic architecture of the time. These furnaces, essential for the harsh winters of Russia, also suggest a society that had developed a sophisticated understanding of thermal engineering. The layout of the streets and the orientation of the houses in Archaim demonstrate a deliberate and well-thought-out urban plan. The radial design ensured that each house had access to the central square, which likely served as a communal area for gatherings and ceremonies. This centralization reflects a societal structure that valued community and collective interaction. The finding of a sophisticated water and sewage infrastructure, mines, metal artifacts, ceramics, ritualistic relics, household tools, and furnaces further underscores the intricate nature of Arkaim. The drainage system of Arkaim, often overlooked in the shadow of its astronomical and architectural wonders, is an integral part of its legacy. This system, intricately designed and meticulously implemented, highlights the practical and environmental acumen of the ancient inhabitants of Arkaim. The settlement, with its complex network of drains, was well equipped to handle the challenges posed by its semi-arid climate and the seasonal fluctuations of the southern Ural steppes. Arkaim's drainage system was not a rudimentary construction. It was a well-planned and executed network that catered to both domestic and communal needs. The system was designed to channel rainwater and waste away from the dwellings, ensuring a sanitary living environment. This level of urban sanitation is remarkable, considering the period and the place in which Arkaim was built. The drainage network was comprised of grooves and channels, strategically placed within the settlement. These channels were often lined with stones, a method that not only facilitated the flow of water, but also prevented erosion and sediment buildup. This careful construction points to a comprehensive understanding of hydraulic principles, a knowledge that was essential for the survival and prosperity of the Arkaim community. One of the most striking features of this drainage system is its integration with the overall urban layout. The radial design of Arkaim meant that each house had direct access to the central square, and the drainage channels were seamlessly incorporated into this design. They ran along the streets, connecting each dwelling to a larger drainage network, which eventually led the water out of the settlement. This integration ensured that the system was both efficient and unobtrusive, a feat of engineering that balances functionality with aesthetic considerations. The effectiveness of Arkaim's drainage system can also be seen in its impact on the settlement's longevity. The ability to manage water resources and maintain a hygienic living space would have been crucial for the health and well-being of its inhabitants. By effectively managing water, the ancient Arkaim society could prevent the spread of waterborne diseases, a common issue in ancient settlements. The construction of such an advanced drainage system required not only technical knowledge but also a coordinated communal effort. This suggests that the society of Arkaim was not only technically proficient but also socially organized, with a clear understanding of the importance of communal infrastructure. Suppose you've watched our video on the Harappan civilization, also known as the Indus Valley civilization. In that case, you may find Arkaim's sophisticated drainage system quite similar to the one in Mohenjo-Daro. The Harappan civilization flourished around 2600 to 1900 BCE in the northwestern regions of the Indian subcontinent. It is renowned for its advanced urban planning, architecture, and social organization. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are exemplary, with their well-laid streets, sophisticated drainage systems, and impressive public and residential structures. Just like the cities of the Indus Valley, Arkaim exhibits a well-planned street grid. The roads are laid out in a systematic pattern, suggesting a high level of planning and foresight, similar to the rectilinear street layouts seen in Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. A hallmark of the Harappan civilization was its advanced drainage system, and this feature is also evident in Arkaim. The presence of drainage facilities indicates an understanding of sanitation and public health that is remarkably advanced for its time. The Harappan civilization was known for its use of baked bricks in construction, a feature that is also observed in Arkaim. The standardization in the size of bricks and construction techniques across both civilizations points to advanced engineering skills and knowledge that seems to be almost identical in nature. The similarities between the people of Archaim and the ancient Indian civilizations don't end there. The Ganges River, reverently known as the Holy Ganga in India, is not just a river but a symbol of faith, purity, and life. It's a river that has held a profound place in Indian culture, history, and spirituality for millennia. In Hinduism, the Ganges is considered sacred, believed to be the physical manifestation of the goddess Ganga. According to Hindu mythology, Ganga descended from heaven to earth to cleanse the sins of humanity. The belief in the healing powers of the Ganges is deeply rooted in Hindu tradition. Millions of people bathe in the river every year, especially during auspicious occasions, in the hope of physical and spiritual healing. This belief is not just spiritual, but also has historical roots, as ancient texts and practices have long attributed medicinal properties to the waters of the Ganges. Curiously, the rivers near Archaim, called Bolshaya Karaganka and Utyaganka rivers, are, just like the Ganges, named after the Holy Ganga. In fact, according to legend and local belief, these rivers also possess healing powers that resonate with the healing powers of the Ganges. How did this reverence for the Ganges reach so far? Was there some long-lost historical connection between these ancient civilizations? As more discoveries were made, the similarities between the ancient Indian civilizations and the lost civilization of Archaim continued to expand. For example, Archaim's city layout is strikingly similar to a mandala. Mandalas are geometric configurations of symbols that are used in spiritual and ritual contexts in Hinduism and Buddhism, representing the cosmos metaphysically and symbolically. Archaim's circular design, with concentric rings and radial divisions, echoes this cosmic symbolism. This layout suggests a sophisticated understanding of not only urban planning, but also of cosmic principles, spirituality, and symbolism. In Indian culture, the mandala is more than just a symbol. It is a tool for spiritual guidance, a map for the spiritual journey, and a method to connect with the divine. Mandalas are used in meditation and rituals, believed to help in focusing, attention, and establishing a sacred space. The resemblance of Archaim's layout to a mandala might imply that the city was more than a habitation. It was a place of spiritual significance. The center of the mandala is often considered the starting point of contemplation, a guide to spiritual enlightenment. Archaim's design, with its central square and surrounding concentric circles, might have served a similar purpose, possibly reflecting the city's role as a spiritual or astronomical center. The resemblance of Archaim's city plan to the mandala-type architecture found in India is uncanny. Indian temples, especially those built in the medieval period, often exhibit similar circular or square layouts with concentric structures, symbolizing a gradual ascent from the material world to the spiritual realm. The most famous example is the Borobudur Temple, which, though Buddhist, reflects similar Hindu architectural principles. Such uncanny similarity between Archaim and such structures raises more questions about the transmission of architectural knowledge and spiritual concepts between these regions. Another connection with the Hindu civilizations was the discovery of the swastika symbol in various places in Archaim, which added even more layers of intrigue to this ancient site. These ancient symbols, which resemble a cross with arms bent at right angles, have been found engraved on various artifacts and architectural elements within the archaeological site. Their presence raises questions about the origins, meanings, and cultural significance of the swastika in this ancient civilization. In the context of Archaim, the swastika symbols appear on pottery, clay tablets, and even etched into the architecture of the settlement. This suggests that they held significant cultural and possibly religious importance to the people who lived there. Some researchers speculate that the swastika may have symbolized the sun, as its rotational pattern mirrors the sun's movement across the sky. In ancient cultures, the sun often had strong religious and symbolic associations. Like the mandala, the swastika is also an ancient symbol that predates many modern religions and is also most commonly associated with Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, where it holds profound spiritual significance. Its presence in Arkaim, a site thousands of miles away from the Indian subcontinent, enhanced the theories of a connection between the two civilizations. In Hinduism, the swastika symbolizes good luck, well-being, prosperity, and the eternal nature of the Brahman or universe. In Buddhism, it represents the auspicious footprints of the Buddha. How did a symbol so deeply rooted in the Indian spiritual context find its way to this remote part of Russia? All of these strange discoveries have also reignited debates about the original homeland of the Indo-Europeans. Some scholars suggest that the site, along with the broader Land of Towns region, supports the theory that the Indo-Europeans originated in Siberia. This theory challenges traditional views on the spread of Indo-European languages and cultures, leading to the question, could Arkaim indeed be the cradle of Indo-European civilization? Perhaps the most fascinating feature of Arkaim was its incredibly sophisticated cosmic alignment and astronomical significance, which suggests that the ancient inhabitants had an advanced understanding of celestial movements and their impact on terrestrial life. Arkaim's design and structure have led many experts to believe that it was used as an astronomical observatory and a sophisticated ancient calendar. This hypothesis is supported by the alignment of the site's doors and buildings, which facilitated the observation of at least 18 astronomical events. Researchers have noted that certain observational points within Arkaim align with the sunrise and sunset during solstices and equinoxes. This alignment indicates a deep understanding of the solar cycle and its importance in ancient times. Throughout history, various ancient civilizations have constructed sites that carefully track the summer solstices. Sites like Stonehenge, Chichen Itza, Machu Picchu, Abu Simbel, and more showcase the remarkable engineering skills of their respective cultures, but also emphasize the significance of celestial events in their cultural practices. The precise alignment of structures with the summer solstice speaks to the enduring fascination of ancient civilizations with the cosmos and their ability to harness the movements of celestial bodies in great precision. Ancient civilizations often based their calendars on the solar and lunar cycles, and Arkaim's design might have facilitated the observation of these cycles, aiding in the prediction of seasonal changes and major celestial events. In many ancient cultures, the heavenly bodies also held significant spiritual and symbolic meanings. The alignment of Arkaim with such celestial phenomena could reflect the site's role as a sacred space where the heavens and earth were believed to connect. This cosmic connection is evident in many ancient civilizations, where astronomical knowledge was often intertwined with mythology, religion, and the cosmos's understanding. The ability to construct a settlement with precise astronomical alignments showcases the technological prowess and advanced engineering skills of the people who built Arkaim. It reflects a sophisticated knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and construction techniques that were remarkable for a civilization of that era, especially if you consider the remote place they developed. How were these societies able to achieve such perfect alignments without modern technology? Another interesting fact about the site that raises more questions is its sudden abandonment. Like many other megalithic sites worldwide, its builders appear to have suddenly vanished without a trace. Regardless of the reason for their vanishment, what they left behind gave rise to various ideologies and spiritual beliefs. Different groups, ranging from Russian Rodnovers to Zoroastrians and Hindus, view Arkaim as a sacred site. For some, it represents the second homeland of the Indo-Europeans, who initially inhabited Arctic regions. Others identify Arkaim with mythical places like Asgard of Odin, or consider it the birthplace of Zoroaster. This diverse range of interpretations showcases the importance this site has on human history. Adding to Arkaim's mystery are the strange reports of magnetic anomalies, strange lights, and curious fog formations in the region, which fueled speculations about Arkaim being an energy node or some sort of vortex generator. While these theories are largely speculative, they do spark the imagination. In conclusion, we can agree that in the vast and enigmatic tapestry of human history, few sites capture the imagination as powerfully as Arkaim. The discovery of this remarkable site opened a window to a past both profound and enigmatic, hinting at the existence of a lost civilization whose sophistication and understanding of the world challenge our modern perceptions of ancient societies. On the serene Lake Tergoyak in the southern Urals lies a small wooded islet named Vera Island, which translates to Island of Faith. Upon this island are the remains of what can only be called a prehistoric stone complex.
Это одна из главных достопримечательностей острова Веры – каменная пещера, созданная около 7000 лет до нашей эры. По версии ученых, именно в таких жили древние люди.
It was discovered by explorers clambering through the brush, who found chambers and passages built of massive granite slabs. The largest structure, dubbed Megalith No. 1, is an elongated hall cut into the bedrock of the island and lined with fitted stones, with great capstones forming its roof. Though now partly collapsed and cloaked in moss, enough remains to show the outline of a rectangular chamber about 19 meters long or 62 feet, with a narrow entrance oriented precisely eastward toward the rising sun. The orientation appears deliberate, aligned with cardinal directions, and possibly tied to astronomical events. Inside, two inner rooms or sanctuaries branch off from a central corridor, and one can still see where the ancient builders carved out niches and even small window-like openings in the stone. Archaeologists who studied Vera Island concluded that these structures date to the Chalcolithic period, roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. The megaliths challenge conventional theories since typical European megalithism is tied to farming cultures. Yet here, they were built in dense forest zones outside any major agricultural areas. The second megalith, Megalith No. 2, is a dual-chambered structure built into a rocky slope and faces north-south. Its two chambers connect by a corridor, and there's a double portal entrance, possibly designed to channel sunlight into the structure, hinting at solar or seasonal ritual use. Inside, archaeologists have documented niches and shelves, likely used to hold important artifacts, with floors smeared with a layer of clay plaster. The effort required to ferry giant slabs of rock to an island and construct chambers with them indicates a high degree of organization and purpose. But what's truly astonishing is that some explorers discovered that the Vera Island structures are not just the ones we observe on the island. Curiously, there are structures that are now underwater beneath the depths of the lake. This could mean that the megalithic site could be much older than previously thought, possibly built at a time when the lake's water level was much lower, tens of thousands of years ago. One wonders if Vera Island was but one node in a network of sacred sites, a special sanctuary set apart by water, while other, perhaps larger complexes lay on the mainland, now lost to time under soil and forest. The thought that a megalithic culture once spread through the Urals, parallel to those in distant lands, adds another layer to the mystery. Strangely, virtually nothing is known about who created them, how they were built, or what purpose they were intended to serve. How did these early mountain dwellers learn to hew and move stone with such skill? Could it be that they inherited knowledge from an even older source, perhaps the fabled antediluvian civilization whose refugees, some speculate, scattered across the world after a great cataclysm? Indeed, other megaliths pepper the Ural landscape. Not far from Vera Island on the mainland and across parts of the middle and southern Urals, explorers have cataloged over 200 small dolmens, ancient stone tombs or spirit houses assembled from boulders or slabs, akin to those found in the Caucasus and Western Europe. But let's go a bit south and explore the remarkable Caucasus dolmens. On the Black Sea coast of the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia, there's a remarkable prehistoric monument, the construction of which cannot be explained to this day. This monument is known as the Volkonsky Dolmen. Dolmens are ancient megalithic structures, typically composed of large stone slabs, and their purpose is still debated. The Volkonsky dolmen, however, stands out from the typical dolmens found around the world. Unlike most dolmens, which are constructed from multiple stones, the Volkonsky dolmen was carved from a single giant boulder. This method of construction demonstrates remarkable skill and precision, suggesting that the builders possessed advanced stone working techniques for their time and possibly the use of some kind of machinery. At the entrance of the dolmen, we can see the remarkably smooth surfaces and straight lines forming a rectangular cut. Achieving such precision with primitive tools would be nearly impossible. As you can see, the wall is perfectly polished. On the Russian website dopotopa.com, we found an article on the Volkonsky dolmen, which includes close-up photos revealing that there are small inclusions of oxidized iron on the front wall of the dolmen. And if we look closer, we can see an interesting pattern on the surface. What caused these intrusions is still unknown. The Volkonsky dolmen is generally believed to date back at least to the early Bronze Age, around 3000 to 2000 BCE. However, the remarkable construction techniques and precision exhibited by the structure have led some to speculate that it could be much older than currently estimated. Given the advanced nature of the dolmen, it raises intriguing questions about who could have built such a structure. What kind of advanced civilization possessed the knowledge and tools necessary to carve a massive boulder with such precision? How can such precision be achieved with primitive Bronze Age tools? The entrance hole of the dolmen is perfectly circular, which is difficult to achieve without advanced drilling equipment. If we go inside the dolmen, we are met by a large interior chamber that is designed perfectly symmetrical, with smooth walls in a uniform shape. The ceiling height of the inner chamber is about 1.5 meters, or approximately 60 inches. This height allows for a spacious interior, considering the overall size and construction constraints of the dolmen. The precision in maintaining this height throughout the chamber further exemplifies the advanced techniques used by the builders. The walls of the chamber are uniformly smooth and exhibit acoustic properties as they capture and enhance the vibrations of sound. The exact weight of the Volkonsky dolmen is difficult to determine without precise measurements, but it is estimated to weigh around 40 tons. The massive size and weight of the dolmen add to the mystery of how ancient builders were able to carve, transport, and place such a colossal stone with the precision and skill evident in its construction. Things got even more mysterious when you look at the drill marks around the dolmen. There, we can see numerous unfinished stone blocks covered with tube drill holes. If you've watched our documentaries before, these remarkable drill holes probably look familiar to you. That's because similar holes can be found all across the world. In Egypt, particularly around the Giza Plateau, there are numerous instances of precise drill holes in stone, including drill holes in granite, which is one of the hardest materials on Earth. The exact same drill holes can be found all across the Americas in the megalithic structures in Peru, like those inside the Coricancha Temple. They can be seen in Pumapunku in Bolivia, and even in European megaliths like those in Italy. All of these holes, much like those near the Volkansky Dolmen, exhibit a high degree of accuracy and uniformity. The similarities raise questions about whether these ancient megalithic structures were all built by the same builders belonging to a now-lost unknown civilization possessing advanced technology and machinery. But that's not all. Near the Volkansky Dolmen, there's an ancient water channel that's clearly artificially made. The water comes from an unknown underground source and contains hydrogen sulfide. The presence of this compound in the water hints at the geological and chemical processes occurring deep underground. Historically, hydrogen sulfide-rich waters have been sought after for their perceived therapeutic properties. Such waters are often found in natural spas and are believed to offer health benefits. This could imply that the area around the Volkansky Dolmen was considered a place of healing and rejuvenation by ancient peoples, although the true purpose of the structure could be much more sophisticated. Mainstream scientists claim that all dolmens around the world are simply tombs, although not much evidence supports this theory. There are other theories, though. This study, authored by scientists from the Superbrain Research Group organization in Italy, revealed some incredible data that shows how the dolmens around the world exhibit remarkable properties. The dolmen studied in this paper was shown to generate significant subsurface vibrations in the 7 to 12 Hz frequency range, with an average of 8 Hz. These low-frequency sounds, which are inaudible to the human ear, can entrain brain waves into a relaxed state, potentially inducing altered states of consciousness. The large stones of the dolmen act as transducers, effectively transmitting strong infrasonic vibrations from the ground to the air above and below the capstone. This capability is similar to other ancient sites, suggesting a purposeful selection of these locations for their natural vibratory properties. Similar infrasonic vibrations were found at other ancient sites, such as the dolmen in Parque Megalítico dos Cordeiros in Portugal, which also acts as a transducer of subsurface vibrations. This reinforces the idea that ancient builders were aware of and utilized these natural phenomena. What's even more remarkable is that they revealed that the resonance vibrations from the dolmens generate electrical activity as detected by an EEG device. Additionally, radon gas radioactivity, originating from underground, is higher inside the dolmen compared to outside, though still below dangerous levels. In this picture, you can see the radioactivity measured in open space on the left, and the radioactivity measured inside the dolmen in Portugal, which is 3 times higher. And dolmens are found all over the world, each with their own unique characteristics and mysteries. Europe is home to some of the most famous dolmens, particularly in countries like France, Spain, and the United Kingdom. In France, the Carnac stones and numerous dolmen sites in Brittany showcase the impressive scale and variety of these structures. Dolmens are even found in the remote areas of Scandinavia, particularly in Denmark and Sweden. They are found all across to Ireland, which is renowned for its numerous dolmens, often referred to as portal tombs. The Poulnabrone dolmen in County Clare is one of the most iconic examples, with its massive capstone and dramatic setting on the Burren limestone pavement. Irish dolmens are steeped in myth and legend, adding to their allure and historical significance. In Asia, dolmens are prevalent in countries like South Korea and India. The Korean peninsula, especially in regions like Gyeongju and Jeollanam-do, has thousands of dolmens that date back to the first millennium BCE. In India, dolmens are found in the southern states of Kerala and Karnataka, where they are typically associated with ancient burial practices. In North Africa, particularly in countries like Morocco and Algeria, dolmens are also part of the rich archaeological landscape. The Middle East, with its extensive history of ancient civilizations, also features numerous dolmens. In Jordan, for instance, dolmens are scattered across the countryside, often located in remote and rugged terrain. While less common, dolmens can also be found in North America. The dolmens in the northeastern United States, for instance, are often smaller and simpler in design but still represent significant archaeological interest. These structures add to the global narrative of megalithic construction and the cultural connections between ancient peoples. Even in regions like the Pacific Islands, dolmens are part of the broader tradition of megalithic architecture. These structures, though not as extensively documented, stress the ingenuity and adaptability of ancient builders across diverse environments. But let's get back to the Caucasus region of Russia and its neighboring countries. What may surprise you is that the Volkonsky dolmen we discussed is just one of thousands of dolmens scattered in the most inaccessible areas of the Caucasus. Although generally unknown to the rest of the world, these megaliths are equal to the great megaliths of Europe and Asia in terms of age and quality of architecture. Some believe that these dolmens are one of the oldest ones in the world, dating from 10,000 years to 25,000 years ago, while more conservative archaeologists date them at 4,000 to 6,000 years old. They are located in the foothills along the Black Sea coast at elevations of about 250, 400 meters above sea level, or around 800 to 1,300 feet. Here is a map showcasing the location of some of the dolmens found in the area. As you can see, this zone represents the largest concentration of dolmens in Europe. Approximately 3,000 of these megalithic structures are known in the northwestern Caucasus, with new discoveries continually being made, though many are also being lost to destruction. It is estimated that originally there were about 10,000 dolmens in the Caucasus region. In 2007, decipherment by Andis Cowlins based on the Caucasus dolmens map showcased how the dolmens are aligned with star constellations and the summer solstice. During the spring equinox at sunrise, the sun illuminated the dolmen facade through the stone gate corridor. All of this is not surprising, considering all ancient megalithic structures around the world are somehow connected with the movement of the stars. In fact, in the inner chamber of a buried dolmen discovered in the Caucasus, a mysterious artifact was found. It was an ancient stone disc with carvings on its surface barely visible today. The carving on the disc resembled astral symbolism. There was a crescent moon, stars, and sun. The other side of the disc was even harder to decipher, but what was clearly visible were numerous notches located at equal intervals along the perimeter of the disc. The Institute of History of Material Culture of Russia concluded that, considering one side of the disc showcases astral symbols and the other side has measurement lines, the artifact was most likely a prehistoric instrument for astronomical observations. This would completely shatter everything we thought we know about the ancient civilizations of this region, meaning they were far more sophisticated than previously thought. But could this mean that the dolmens themselves had advanced knowledge carved into their surface? Curiously, there are numerous carvings with unknown meanings, including images of portals, 4 convex hemispheres, vertical and horizontal zigzags, and more. Roofs sometimes feature patterns of sequentially arranged hollows and crosses in circles, and other patterns. The meaning of these drawings remains unexplained by archaeologists, although many theorize that they represent their knowledge in architecture, mathematics, biology, astronomy, and physics. In a remarkable book written by historian-archaeologist Dmitry Dmitriev and Stanislava Fialkovskaya, titled Secret of the Caucasian Dolmens, we found some incredible information. There, they showed the picture of an artifact discovered in a dolmen known as the Moon Dolmen. It was a damaged triangular altar slab which had large circles with smaller circles inside, possibly depicting the moment of egg fertilization. The cycle starts from the first day of menstruation. A circle in the lower left corner has a diagonal line pointing to the 5th notch, indicating 5 days of menstruation. Then follows a non-fertile period, shown by 2 circles with leftward markers. A circle at the middle of the scale points to the 12th notch, indicating the start of the fertile period, ending at the 18th notch as shown by a circle in the lower right corner. A large circle in the upper corner with 2 smaller circles inside depicts the development of identical twins. This slab served as both a calendar and a teaching aid for understanding conception. A similar conception calendar is carved on the Moon Dolmen's chamber's rear northeast wall, resembling a technical drawing. The vertical joints of chamber blocks serve as markers, with the first marker at the 5th hollow, indicating the end of menstruation. The second marker at the 10th, 11th hollows marks the end of the non-fertile period. The 11th to 19th days are fertile, with the third marker at the 14th hollow. Above this hollow are harmonic series, indicating the woman's ovulation energy spike. The conception calendar in the Moon Dolmen is flanked by 2 other calendars on the northwest and southeast walls. The southeast wall calendar, a continuation of the conception calendar, has larger hollows and vertical broken lines over the last hollows, indicating life energy entering a newborn during birth. As an example and for comparison, here's a modern basal chart and conception calendar. What is surprising is that the harmonic surges coincide on the dolmen builder's drawing and on the modern chart. This means that thousands of years ago, whoever built these structures had the same knowledge on these subjects as we do today. Currently, numerous dolmens are in significant disrepair and face the risk of being lost without protection from vandalism and neglect. So who knows what other secrets could be decoded on their design? Each dolmen features a central portal, with some constructed from multiple stones and others carved from a single stone. While round portholes are the most prevalent, square ones also exist. Stone plugs, often found with these structures, were used to block the portholes and sometimes have a phallic shape. Notably, the entrance of a Caucasian dolmen is always on the south side. The majority of these dolmens feature remarkable architectural characteristics, like this one, for example, which has perfectly flat surfaces. As you can see, The stone blocks are perfectly fitted together with minimal gaps. And here's an example of a dolmen with a large stone plug found next to it, suggesting the dolmen was once sealed. As you can see, there's an indentation around the perfectly circular hole of this dolmen, which was probably made so that the stone plug creates a hermetic seal when plugged. It's interesting to note that there are some dolmens that imitate a stone plug, like this one, for example. This is a fake plug carved into the rock in a perfectly oval 3D manner. It's unknown how such perfection and smooth work can be made using primitive tools. If you look at this picture, you can see numerous dolmens from the Caucasus region, some featuring plugs, some missing their plugs and having just a hole, and some having a fake plug carved into the rock. The details and carvings on the stone blocks are remarkable. Take a closer look at the dolmens and see how fine and precise their carvings are. Interestingly, there's an old legend about the construction of the dolmens in the Caucasus region. According to the story, thousands of years ago, there were ancient giants tall as trees, hunting and fishing for sustenance. The giants, although fearsome, lacked intelligence and were tricked into serving a race of dwarfs. The dwarfs persuade the giants to build them numerous cozy and comfortable houses in the mountains. These houses had only one round hole, just large enough for the dwarfs to crawl through, ensuring that the giants could not enter. Many years have passed since then, and both the giants and dwarfs have vanished from the land. Yet, the stone houses, built by the giants under the direction of the dwarfs, still stand to this day, serving as a mysterious reminder of this ancient legend. This old tale about giants from the Caucasus is quite different from most ancient myths and legends about giants, as it also describes the giants as gentle and kind. Whether there's any truth to this legend, we cannot know. But interestingly, although science can't confirm the existence of prehistoric giants in these regions, it has confirmed the existence of a lost prehistoric civilization. There's something called the Black Sea Deluge hypothesis, which posits that the Black Sea was once a smaller freshwater lake and home to numerous ancient cities, until thousands of years ago, a catastrophic flood event transformed the modest lake into the vast Black Sea we know today. The Black Sea is a large inland sea situated between southeastern Europe and Western Asia. It is connected to the Mediterranean Sea via the Bosphorus Strait, the Sea of Marmara, and the Dardanelles. Geologists believe that during the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, sea levels were much lower due to the vast amounts of water trapped in ice sheets. Consequently, the Black Sea was isolated from the world's oceans and existed as a smaller, freshwater lake. The Black Sea Deluge hypothesis was prominently proposed by geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman in the late 1990s. According to their theory, around 7,600 years ago, as the glaciers melted and sea levels rose, the Mediterranean Sea breached the Bosphorus Strait. This event led to an immense and rapid influx of salt water into the freshwater lake, raising its level by hundreds of feet and expanding its surface area dramatically. The hypothesis is supported by geological evidence, including ancient shorelines and sediments that suggest a significant and abrupt rise in water levels. Additionally, underwater exploration has uncovered submerged settlements and artifacts, indicating that the area was once inhabited by mysterious civilizations of which we know nothing about. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the existence of an early civilization is the submerged settlement found off the coast of Bulgaria. This site, which dates back to around 5000 BCE, includes remnants of houses, hearths, and pottery, indicating a well-developed community that was abruptly submerged. The discovery proved that ancient people lived here at least 1,000 years earlier than mainstream science believed, at a time when the water level was 16.5 feet or 5 meters lower than it is now. This catastrophic flooding event has also been linked to the myriad flood myths found in various cultures. For instance, the story of Noah's Ark in the Judeo-Christian tradition and the Epic of Gilgamesh in Mesopotamian mythology both describe a great flood that wiped out civilizations. Some scholars suggest that these myths could be cultural memories of the Black Sea flood, passed down through generations. If the Black Sea deluge hypothesis is correct, it will reshape our understanding of the prehistoric past of the region and the early human civilizations that inhabited it. It was this flood that displaced large populations, forcing migrations and possibly contributing to the spread of agricultural practices and technological innovations across Europe and Asia. Moreover, this hypothesis challenges the traditional view that significant human civilizations arose only in the Near East and Mesopotamia. In fact, it would mean that these civilizations were inheritors and descendants of this prehistoric lost ancient civilization that developed independently around the Black Sea, thriving in the fertile and resource-rich environment until their abrupt demise due to the flood. Could all of these sophisticated large dolmens all across the shores of the sea be remnants of this lost civilization? Whoever built these remarkable structures numbering in the thousands was most definitely much more sophisticated than the primitive hunter-gatherers described in our history books. These megalithic constructions indicate a society with advanced engineering skills, social organization, and knowledge of astrology, biology, mathematics, and geometry. This would imply the existence of a division of labor with specific roles for construction, planning, and resource allocation. Such societal complexity is a hallmark of advanced civilizations and challenges the notion that sophisticated social and technological development only emerged in the more traditionally recognized cradles of civilization. Continued exploration and research will undoubtedly reveal more about this fascinating and formative period, offering deeper insights into our collective past and the enduring legacy of those who came before us. The remote and rugged region in the North Caucasus, in the Kabardino-Balkaria Republic of the Russian Federation, is a place of towering mountains and untamed wilderness. Yet, in 2011, Arthur Zhemukov, who is a Russian speleologist, which is the scientific study and exploration of caves, made an astonishing discovery at the Kara Hora mountain peak, one which would completely shatter our understanding of ancient human history. There, he found a deep, narrow, vertical shaft, seemingly swallowed by the earth itself. It was made of parallel stone slabs that seemed perfectly geometrical, as if they were artificially made. Zhemukov and his team decided to venture deeper, and what they discovered within the shaft was nothing short of extraordinary. The walls were straight and polished, extending 40 meters or 130 feet deep into the mountain, before opening into a wide underground hall with a height of 36 meters, about 118 feet. The straight walls of this shaft were constructed from large megalithic blocks that fitted together at right angles with minimal gaps. There were even large stones that looked like columns. Overall, the explored dimensions of the shaft, from the upper part all the way to the lower platform, span more than 100 meters, around 350 feet. Artur Zhemukov and his team were completely stunned. They concluded that whatever this prehistoric structure was, it was undoubtedly an artificial construction of an enormous scale. They found perfectly straight and polished narrow walls that go 40 meters deep into the mountain. Artur Zhemukov noted that the polished walls made of megalithic blocks were very similar to those found at the shafts of the Egyptian pyramids, precisely the Grand Gallery at the Pyramid of Khufu, the blocks of which are approximately the same size. And like the advanced ancient structures of Egypt, this ancient gallery also most likely served some kind of advanced technological function and was probably part of a larger structure. It took more than an hour for the expedition to even reach the bottom of the structure, which requires extensive climbing experience and endurance. And it's believed that there are additional chambers and channels that go much deeper underground, which are still undiscovered. Due to the colossal size of the underground shaft, only a small part of it is explored. The climbers advanced 100 meters deeper, and they ran into narrow passages in which they couldn't enter. The team concluded that this structure, whatever it was indeed man-made, as there were no analogs anywhere among other cave systems in the world, especially caves possessing polished flat parallel walls, rectangular blocks with straight edges, the presence of what seemed like a solution between the perfect fittings of the blocks and the absence of oblique cracks, characteristic of tuff. But how is this possible? How could gigantic 200-ton perfectly flat stone blocks be assembled with such precision into such a narrow shaft deep underground? What kind of technology was used for the construction of the Kara Hora shaft? Additional expeditions inside the shaft were made by Vadim Chernobrov, head of the Kosmopoisk, which is an organization that researches different anomalies in Russia. Vadim and his team, together with Artur Zhemukov, climbed inside the shaft and filmed the experience for a documentary featured on Russian TV. Chernobrov even mapped the discovered parts of the shaft, carefully measuring the dimensions and scale of the site. Here is a photo of the map made by Chernobrov. As you can see, this does not look like any other known cave anywhere in the world. And here we can see a 3D demonstration of the shaft from the channel of Vladislav's Guska, where the site is placed next to a Soviet space rocket. It certainly looks more like an artificial structure rather than a natural cave. Moreover, who knows how deep it actually goes and what else is hiding underground? But if this is an advanced prehistoric man-made construction, what was its purpose? There were various theories. According to Vadim Chernobrov, this was a man-made structure which was not intended for human habitation due to the narrow passages, where even a child cannot squeeze through, together with the numerous tiny holes where a human hand can hardly fit. He noted that each such mini cavity goes far into the depths where even the lights from the flashlights do not reach the bottom. This led him to believe that this structure had a technological purpose. He noted that the mysterious cavities inside the Egyptian pyramids, which he visited numerous times, were also not intended for the movement of people and served some kind of technological purpose, just like the Kara Hora shaft. The sophisticated shafts we find in Egypt also lead deep underground, and they often lead to chambers with unknown purposes. No one knows what they were used for, but they're clearly not meant to be traversed by humans, as there are no ladders, stairs, or any other method to climb inside them. There are no burn marks on the walls from torchlights, meaning there wasn't any visibility inside, and there aren't any hieroglyphs artifacts, or anything else that can indicate human presence or a cultural and religious purpose. It seemed the intent of these systems was purely practical, yet unknown to us. Vadim Chernobrov could only speculate, saying it could have been some kind of plant, a part of an advanced ancient factory or some kind of resonator. He said it could be a device for seismological research or even an ancient energy generator. Other researchers brought different theories, believing this was the underground part of a long-lost pyramid that once stood on the surface of the mountain, which is now long gone. Climbers who went inside believed the place served some sort of ventilation purpose, as they noted that there was a constant flow of air circulating and coming from beneath. Despite all the different theories, everyone who climbed inside the cave agreed that this structure, whatever it was certainly artificially created. But if this really was part of an advanced underground complex built by a prehistoric civilization, how is it possible that no one had ever heard anything about such civilization in the region? Well, the thing is, there were certain people who knew about the underground structure, many decades before Arthur Zhemukov actually discovered it. In fact, Arthur Zhemukov didn't discover the shaft by pure luck or accident. He had been searching for it for many years. Zhemukov was studying the documents and traces left by the Nazi Germans during World War II. Hitler, along with several other high-ranking Nazi officials, was deeply influenced by the occult. These beliefs were intertwined with the ideology of the Thule Society, an esoteric group that sought to explore and revive ancient Aryan traditions. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, was particularly obsessed with these ideas and established the Ahnenerbe, an institute dedicated to researching the ancestral heritage and occult practices of the Aryan race. The Ahnenerbe, officially known as the Research and Teaching Society for Ancestral Heritage, conducted numerous expeditions to various parts of the world, including Tibet, in search of a mythical underground city known as Shambhala. This search was driven by the belief that Shambhala held mystical powers and advanced ancient technology that could be harnessed to further Nazi ambitions. Additionally, they sought to find connections with the Aryan race, hoping to legitimize their racial theories and propaganda. In 1938 to 1939, an expedition led by SS officer Ernst Schaefer was sent to Tibet under the guise of scientific research. While the primary stated goals were anthropological and botanical studies, there was a covert mission to investigate the myths of Shambhala and uncover any potential ancient knowledge or artifacts that could aid the Nazi cause. In the summer of 1942, the German military launched Operation Edelweiss, a major offensive aimed at capturing the oil-rich regions of the Caucasus, particularly the Baku oil fields in Azerbaijan. Securing these resources was crucial for the German war effort, as oil was essential for fueling the Wehrmacht's operations. The offensive was part of a broader strategy to deprive the Soviet Union of its vital resources and to gain a strategic foothold in the region. Beyond the immediate military objectives, the Nazis harbored ideological interests in the Caucasus. The Nazi occult organizations and members of the Ahnenerbe believed that the region could hold clues to the origins of the Aryan race. They speculated that ancient Aryan civilizations have once thrived in the Caucasus, leaving behind traces of their advanced knowledge and culture, including vast underground cities. It appears that the Germans were very close to discovering the Kara Hora underground shaft, as in very close proximity to the entrance of the shaft, on top of the mountain, there was a swastika carved on a boulder by the Germans. Perhaps the swastika was left as an identification mark by the Nazi researchers who knew they were very close to discovering the underground city of the Aryans. What's even stranger was that a more ancient swastika carving was also found in the region, one which has nothing to do with the Germans. Could this swastika have been left by the advanced ancient civilization that constructed the Kara Hora shaft? Were the Nazis emulating these people with their swastika and ideology? This was how Arthur Zhemikov finally discovered the underground complex, not with his knowledge as a speleologist, but with his research into the occult and ancient texts and legends from the region. In fact, he learned that in the North Caucasus, numerous ancient legends about vast underground cities and caves have been passed from generation to generation. Arthur Zhemikov believed that his discovery of the Kara Hora shaft was just the beginning, and that there were numerous more remarkable structures and underground cities and complexes hidden in the depths of the mountain. Strangely, just before launching further expeditions in search of these ancient sites, a mysterious tragedy ceased the research. In 2015, Arthur Zhemikov was hit by a car, having reported on some important find the day before. But that's not all. Viktor Chernobrov, the founder and leader of the Kosmopoisk organization, who was accompanied by Zhemikov in his own expedition to the Kara Hora shaft, also died just 2 years later of cancer. There were also 3 more people associated with the research who also died mysteriously. We can't say if all of these tragedies are just a coincidence or something much more. As of today, there is hardly any information on the Kara Hora shaft or any other expeditions or discoveries in the Caucasus region. The only thing we found were 2 albums from 2017 and 2018 by a man named Alexander Splashnov, who ventured into the region and even climbed inside the Kara Hora shaft. The photographs he made of the Kara Hora shaft are remarkable and showcase the geometrically precise shaft with polished walls and massive megalithic blocks. But that's not all that captured Splashnov's attention. He made numerous photos of interesting things he found in the region around the entrance of the Kara Hora shaft. Here is a photo of the famous swastika left by the Nazi Germans who were researching the area. And here, he photographed an interesting stone, which looks like it has machine marks on it. On this photo, Splashnov captured a stone formation that is almost entirely buried in soil and vegetation, yet looks like it could be part of a man-made structure long forgotten. It looks like the stone features precise cuts and flat surfaces that were artificially modified. And on this section of Kara Hora, it looks like there are massive stone blocks stacked together, with everything below them being buried in the ground. Once again, we can see precise cuts with right angles and flat walls. Take a look at the strange forms of the stone that are still visible. Does this look like a natural formation or an artificially modified stone, part of another megalithic structure? It appears the entire area of Kara Hora is filled with stone blocks that look like they were precisely cut with some sort of machine and probably used for large construction endeavors. Just compare the perfectly flat and polished surface of the block below with the naturally eroded rock above. Could this have been an ancient quarry used by the same prehistoric civilization that built the Kara Hora shaft? Here we can clearly see precise machine marks on the surface of the rock, which were probably left after the extraction of the stone blocks. And look at the precision showcased in this photo, where the rocks are joined perfectly together with almost no gap and exhibit these fascinating shapes. We haven't seen any natural formation that look anything like this. Alexander Splashnov photographed his entire journey entering the Kara Hora shaft, from the site's entrance to his descent down and all the way to the lowest sectors of the shaft. The photos are of remarkable quality and can be used for further research. The albums, with all of the incredible photos captured by Alexander Splashnov, were uploaded to his page at vk.com, which is a Russian Facebook alternative. We'll leave a link to the albums in the description below if you wish to examine them in more detail. The discovery of the Kara Hora shaft in the North Caucasus by Arthur Zhumukov in 2011 has raised profound questions about the ancient human history and the technological capabilities lost in time. The intrigue surrounding the site continues to captivate those who ponder the abilities and knowledge of ancient civilizations. Some believe this is the ultimate proof of a technologically advanced prehistoric civilization, while others believe it is a natural formation. Like we already explained, many of the most active researchers of the site have died, and no news about it has been heard in recent years. The true origin and purpose of the Kara Hora shaft continues to remain a mystery. If one day it is proven to be the product of an advanced ancient civilization, the structure would be one of the largest megalithic sites on Earth. On September 5, 1969, at the remote Siberian village of Ryzhavchik in the Soviet Union, a remarkable event unfolded, seemingly ripped from the pages of a science fiction novel.
Это работал какой-то разум, возможно, космический разум. Может быть, это наши предки здесь действовали очень давно, потому что на глубине 70 метров примерно 800 миллионов лет или 600 миллионов лет, как ученые считают некоторые.
It all happened deep beneath the Earth's surface, in the dimly lit tunnels of a coal mine. The miners there worked tirelessly, the same as they did every day, extracting coal at a depth of 230 feet. However, amid the rhythmic clanging of metal against stone, one miner's pickaxe struck something unexpectedly hollow, a sound distinctly different from the solid resistance they had grown accustomed to. Pausing, the miner wiped his face and, with a mix of curiosity and caution, cleared away the debris, revealing a crack in the wall that seemed to lead into darkness beyond. With a few more skilled strikes, the rock gave way, and the miners stood in awe as the wall crumbled, opening into a hidden chamber untouched by light for millennia. Inside, the air was thick with mystery, and their lamps casted a long shadow over a sight that would be forever etched into their memories. They saw a large marble sarcophagus of exquisite design, measuring around 8.5 feet in length and 3 feet in height. Immediately, the head of the mining district, Alexander Masaligin, received the bewildering report from one of his miners. Recognizing the potential significance of the find, Masaligin promptly notified the Soviet authorities, setting in motion a series of events that would lead to widespread speculation and intrigue. The discovery quickly became the center of attention among the miners, fueled by a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Masaligin ordered the sarcophagus to be extracted from its resting place, 230 feet below the surface, a task that was undertaken with a sense of urgency and curiosity. As the sarcophagus was painstakingly brought to the surface, the miners' imaginations ran wild with visions of gold and jewels that might lie within. At the same time, however, they were a bit resentful, discussing how the Soviet officials would most likely confiscate the discovery without giving them anything in return, and without even telling them what was inside. Driven by their curiosity, they decided to open the sarcophagus, and what they found inside shocked everyone who witnessed it. Instead of treasure, they found the remarkably preserved body of a young woman estimated to be between 25 and 30 years old.
Выкопали гроб, начали крышку открывать никак не могли. Еле-еле, говорит, ее потом приоткрыли. В гробу лежала женщина. Ну, лет, может быть, под 30 с косой и глаза голубые.
She lay there as if asleep, her long, wavy, dark brown hair cascading down to her waist. She was wearing a white dress that was strangely translucent, evidently made from a fabric not known to us. Surrounding her was a mysterious pink liquid, and beside her head was a small black metal box that didn't resemble anything the miners knew at that time. Many years later, however, with the invention and development of the smartphone, the witnesses of the event believed the black box next to the woman resembled a device similar to a smartphone. The woman's skin was remarkably smooth and clean with no sign of decomposition or age. Her skin was incredibly white, whiter than a person with albinism. She looked more alive and healthier than the miners themselves. In fact, everyone was amazed by her beauty.
Увидели, что в нем лежит женщина невиданной красоты, с белокурыми волосами, голубыми глазами, и кожа у нее была настолько белая, что она повергла местных жителей в такой небольшой шок.
The sarcophagus stood open for many hours, and almost all the villagers came to see it. One reckless young man, driven by curiosity and perhaps the clear pink glance of the liquid, decided to amaze the people gathered around by dripping his finger into the pink substance and tasting it. It turned out to be completely tasteless and odorless. However, in a sorrowful turn of events, just a week later, his mental condition rapidly declined. His disorientation became so severe that he was unable to identify his own house, ultimately succumbing to the bitter cold of winter and freezing to death. His death wouldn't be the only one connected to the mysterious discovery. The beauty laying in the excavated sarcophagus soon became known as the Tisul Princess, with Tisul being the name of the district in which the village was located. Eventually, the high-ranking officials from the district arrived, along with police officers, firefighters, and military representatives, all descending to the site. Accompanying them were KGB agents in civilian clothes, arriving in a red helicopter. They immediately cleared the area around the sarcophagus, warning the gathered crowd of potential infectious hazards within. Their goal was to airlift the coffin with their helicopter and transport it somewhere where it could be analyzed. Attempts to airlift the sarcophagus proved futile, however, as it was too heavy. They decided to drain the pink liquid into special containers that would be transported separately, making the sarcophagus lighter. When they did that, something astonishing happened. When the pink liquid was drained, the woman's perfectly preserved and lifelike body underwent a startling transformation. The skin changed from white to black in front of the onlookers in mere minutes, making the princess lose her lifelike appearance. This led many to believe that the pink liquid and the sarcophagus itself had some kind of preservation properties that could maintain her body in a state of suspended animation. The Tisul Princess was eventually transported to Novosibirsk for scientific analysis. Several weeks later, a professor from Novosibirsk arrived in Rajavchik to lecture about the unusual discovery in the mine. He disclosed that the preservation state of the princess was unlike anything previously encountered in the field of archaeology or paleontology. The liquid in which she was submerged had properties that defied explanation without any known parallel in natural or artificial embalming processes. Efforts to understand the age and origin of the sarcophagus and its occupant led to an extensive series of tests, including radiocarbon dating and other analytical techniques. However, radiocarbon dating, a reliable method for determining the age of organic materials up to 50,000 years old, was inadequate for the task at hand. The material of the sarcophagus, along with the preservation liquid and the princess herself, did not conform to the expected parameters. Scientists turned to other methods, analyzing the geological strata and employing more sophisticated dating techniques that could hint at the sarcophagus's age. The conclusion drawn from these analyses was nothing short of revolutionary. The data suggested that the Tisul princess and her sarcophagus were approximately 800 million years old, a figure that staggered the scientific community and challenged the very foundation of human history. Such an age would place the princess not just before the dawn of human civilization, but before the emergence of complex life forms as we know them. This startling revelation prompted a re-evaluation of everything previously understood about the timeline of life on Earth. If the findings were accurate, they implied the existence of a civilization capable of creating the sarcophagus and the preservation liquid, a civilization that existed in a time when science had thought the planet was inhabited only by the simplest forms of life. The implications were profound, suggesting not only a rewriting of human history, but a complete overhaul of the evolutionary timeline itself. But this wasn't the only theory out there. Some believed that the princess was part of a contingent of extraterrestrial visitors who came to Earth from a different place. The completely white skin of the woman was believed to be a sign that she was from a planet with much less sunlight. The discovery of the Tisul princess opened a Pandora's box of questions, theories, and implications. The story began to spread, and an article about the discovery appeared in the local newspaper. This, however, prompted a swift and secretive response from the Soviet Secret Service. KGB agents returned, ridiculing the story as nonsensical, instilling the idea that there was no such thing and no such discovery had been made. The agents also started confiscating all newspaper copies with the article. The professor who shared information with the people and the newspaper editor were both punished for daring to comment on an event the Soviet government was trying to hide from the world. After all, this was the peak of the Cold War. No one dared speak about the Tisul princess again, not until the collapse of the Soviet Union. It was then that freedom of speech and independent media were established, and another article covering the discovery appeared. The article was from 2002 and was titled, "The Lady Who is 800 Million Years Old." It appeared in the Khakassia newspaper and then in the Arkaim newspaper. The journalist claimed that this story was told to him by a retired colonel of the KGB, who had worked in the past in one of the secret departments of this organization. The story once again gained popularity. Currently, near the village of Rojavchik, not far from the place where the sarcophagus was found, a stone with a memorial plaque has been installed. The sign on the memorial reads, "In 1969, not far from here, a burial site was discovered during the development of a coal seam. In a 2-meter marble sarcophagus lay a beautiful young woman. Based on the age of the coal seam in which the sarcophagus was found, the woman was buried several 100 million years ago." It was even discussed on Central Television, where eyewitnesses from the Rojavchik village who saw the sarcophagus opening with their own eyes confirmed the discovery's authenticity. But there was more to the story. It was later revealed that years after the discovery of the Tisul princess, there was a series of peculiar fatalities among those connected to the sarcophagus. Just 6 months after the KGB confiscated the stone sarcophagus, a wave of misfortune swept over the village of Rojavchik, plunging it into a state of mourning. Tragedy struck relentlessly, beginning with Ivan Karnaukov, the man who discovered the sarcophagus of the Tisul princess. His life was cut short in a harrowing accident when his motorcycle collided with a truck.
Так что вот Карнаухов был. Он вообще-то никогда не пил, по крайней мере, сколько я его помню. Потом вдруг, оказывается, объявление было, что он напился и пьяный под машину попал. На мотоцикле.
In a sorrowful continuation of calamity, a month after Ivan's death, a miner met his demise by drowning. The sole survivor of these ominous events was geologist Vladimir Podreshetnikov, who revealed that the discovery of the Tisul princess was not the only one of its kind. In the summer of 1973, military forces once again descended upon the Tisul district, as recounted by Vladimir Podreshetnikov. The troops established a stringent perimeter around the forest, prohibiting access to the locals and patrolling the village streets. The presence of the military was shrouded in secrecy, with the villagers being advised to maintain their composure without any explanation provided. Years later, the accounts of Vladimir Podreshetnikov were confirmed by Valery Malavany, a historian of special services and a retired FSB major general. He stated that archival records from the KGB indicate that in 1973, the area was subjected to an intensive security cordon, implemented in 3 concentric barriers. Not far from there, a lake harbored an island where additional graves were uncovered. Within these graves lay 2 more sarcophagi, each around 8 feet in length, bearing a striking resemblance to the original find. These sarcophagi were transported to Moscow and were estimated to be around 200 million years old. Villagers were strictly instructed to keep silent about the incident.
Из архивных источников КГБ СССР мы знаем, что в 1973 году этот район был жестко оцеплен в 3 слоя заграждения. На острове посреди озера отрыли 2 могилы. 2 могилы, которым было по 200 миллионов лет.
Reports indicate that mining operations continued in the quarry for a while, but only with newly assigned workers. Local residents were barred from entry. While some dismiss the story as a fabricated tale magnified by journalistic and public intrigue, others are convinced of its authenticity. Since everything about the discovery was classified and all physical evidence was confiscated and kept secret, we only have the reports of the still alive witnesses and the information disclosed by Valery Malavany. It's a fact that there really was a large coal mine near the village of Rjavchik during the 1960s, which was completely shut down in 1972 for unknown reasons. It's also worth noting that this area of Russia is where we can find the oldest coal deposits. It is believed that there were photographs and video recordings captured in the initial moments of discovery and during preliminary examinations of the Tisul princess, yet they vanished from personal and institutional archives. Documents detailing the findings, notes taken by the researchers, and even samples of the preservation liquid were confiscated or destroyed. The government's role in the disappearance of evidence and the suppression of information only fueled further speculation. The lack of transparency and the apparent effort to erase the discovery from public consciousness led many to question the motives behind the intervention. Was there something within the sarcophagus, or in the very existence of the Tisul princess, that posed a threat to the established historical narrative or to national security? Or was the suppression an attempt to monopolize knowledge that could offer unprecedented insights into human history and technology? The mystifying nature of the discovery, coupled with the government's heavy-handed efforts to obscure the facts, ignited the imaginations of people around the globe. Without tangible evidence to guide interpretations, the narrative of the Tisul princess became a canvas upon which a myriad of theories were painted, each offering a different explanation for her existence and the advanced technology that seemed to accompany her. One of the most prominent theories suggested the existence of a sophisticated ancient civilization, far predating any known societies.
По всем внешним признакам можно сказать, что она не инопланетянка, а скорее всего представитель древнейшей цивилизации, которая могла стать прародителем всего человечества.
Proponents of this idea pointed to the advanced materials and techniques implied by the sarcophagus and preservation liquid as evidence of a lost culture with knowledge and technology far surpassing that of contemporary humanity. This civilization, they speculated, might have existed on Earth in a period when mainstream science believed the planet to be uninhabitable or only capable of supporting simple life forms. The Thistle princess, according to this theory, was a member of this ancient society, perhaps a figure of great importance, preserved for millennia through means lost to time.
Какой-то катаклизм или еще что-то, цивилизация погибла, и вот как раз она осталась напоминанием, что жизнь на Земле была до какой-то великой катастрофы. Придет время, и она проснется.
Others believe that the dating of the discovery was wrong, that the princess was not 800 million years old, but around 50,000, which would still make the discovery groundbreaking. There are also those who speculate she might have been an extraterrestrial from a crashed spaceship, suggesting she could have been in suspended animation, with the metal box beside her serving as a timer for her awakening and a means to return to the surface. Supporters of this theory argued that the materials and methods used in her preservation were beyond human capability at any known point in history, suggesting an origin not of this earth. The seamless preservation and the material of her dress, together with the black box, which had no known counterparts in human technology, were cited as evidence of extraterrestrial influence. This theory often intersected with ideas of ancient astronaut visitations, which propose that human history has been periodically influenced by contact with alien civilizations. The questions raised by the disappearance of evidence and the silencing of witnesses remain unanswered, adding to the mystique of the Thistle princess. The absence of tangible proof and the efforts to discredit those who had seen the artifacts firsthand have transformed the discovery into a modern-day legend, a story that continues to captivate and provoke debate. What do you think about the Thistle princess? Tell us your theories in the comments below. The Vadovara Mountain, situated in the Republic of Karelia of Russia, is a place revered for its powerful energy and worshipped as a sacred site for thousands of years by ancient Saami tribes and shamans, who are the ancestors of modern Finns, as this region was once part of Finland. As one ascends Vadovara, an array of abnormal phenomena begins to manifest in the trees. Remarkably, there are no living trees on the summit that are more than a few decades old. Although many young pines and firs initially grow in a typical manner, they soon begin to exhibit strange characteristics. After a few years, the trees undergo transformations that defy conventional scientific explanations. The trunks and branches of trees on Vadovara rotate around their axis due to some unexplained abnormal force. In some cases, the upper side branches start growing not upwards but towards the ground, creating an eerie downward growth pattern. Additionally, there are practically no animals and birds there, and the lakes are uninhabited. Perhaps this is why locals call it the Death Mountain. But that's not all. The site has numerous strange megalithic structures and ruins, which many believe could not have occurred naturally. For example, there are approximately 1,600 sacred stones called sides, which are arranged here in a mysterious order. Seeds or saitas are objects or sites revered by the Sami people as representing nature or earth spirits. The side stones or boulders are often of unusual shapes and are placed in strange ways balanced on small rocks. Scientists say this occurred naturally by luck during the Ice Age. However, considering there are 1,600 stones in the area, all balanced perfectly on tiny little rocks, the natural luck hypothesis becomes invalidated. After all, what are the odds for so many giant stone boulders to situate themselves perfectly like that? The large stones had to be placed gently on top of the smaller ones to prevent them from breaking them. But if someone placed them like that, how did they do it? What kind of methods did they use to lift, transport, and gently place and balance such giant boulders? But it's not just the sides. This structure is called the well. Locals believe this is an artificially constructed ancient megalithic site used for the storage of water. The blocks of the structure look like they were perfectly cut to have precise rectangular forms. The thousands of years of erosion, of course, caused them to crack and deform, but nevertheless, the symmetry and precision of the structure are still clearly seen. No one even knows how deep this well goes, as it's always filled with water and no proper scientific research has been done at this site. Although it hasn't been proven that this water tank was artificially constructed, we know for sure prehistoric civilizations were able to build such structures, as there's a nearly identical tank in Bulgaria, carved into the rock sanctuary of Perperikon. The tank, measuring 40 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 20 feet deep, has a capacity of 432,000 liters. It has an extremely complex system of incredibly accurate grooves in the rock which still work flawlessly in collecting and distributing water. The city of Perperikon has been inhabited since around 5000 BCE, while a nearby shrine dedicated to Orpheus near the village of Tatul dates back to 6000 BCE. Is it possible that the water tank at the Vadovara mountain was built by the same unknown civilization that built the water tank in Perperikon, Bulgaria? Take a look at the interlockings of the stone blocks, which fitted perfectly thousands of years ago before they were displaced. There are many more strange megalithic artifacts on the complex, like these stone spheres, for example, which are perfectly smooth and oval and are often placed on podiums. As you probably know, similar stone spheres have been found in Bosnia, near the Bosnian Pyramid, as well as in Costa Rica, where there is an assortment of over 300 such petrospheres. Their real purpose is still unknown. This giant structure is believed to be the remains of an ancient stairs that were part of a larger building. Of course, scientists dismiss it and say it's just a natural formation. And this appears like a prehistoric wall made of large squared stone blocks. As you can see, there's what appears to be a knob on one of the upper stone blocks. The block cuts look very smooth and probably fitted perfectly thousands of years ago. There are many more stone ruins that look too artificial for a natural formation. Take a look for yourself and you be the judge. But that's not all. Archaeologists have uncovered many fascinating rock carvings in the region. On the eastern bank of Lake Onega, the second largest lake in Europe, archaeologists discovered about 1,200 rock drawings, estimated to be from 5,000 to 6,000 years old. Known as the Onega petroglyphs, these astonishing rock carvings were deliberately made to display stunning special light effects, just like a prehistoric cinema. The site selection is intriguing as the artist chose granite rocks that rise vertically from the lake waters. At sunset, the designs on the cliffs become more distinct in the sunlight, indicating that the artist selected this location for its light effects despite the inherent risks. Before sunset, the designs were barely visible and indistinguishable from below. However, as the sun approached the horizon, the granite turned dark red, and the different colored lines of the patterns became very clear. The uniqueness of owning petroglyphs lies in the imagery they contain. Predominantly featuring water birds, especially swans, these images are unlike those found in the rock art of the Eurasian region. The most popular depiction is that of this human-like creature with a rectangular body and a large square head. This 2.5-meter-long figure is carved into a rock that Neolithic people likely viewed as the entrance to the netherworld. A 7-pointed Orthodox cross, thought to be made by monks from the Ruhr monastery in the 16th century, is etched over the image, as later Christian people believed the carving represented the devil. In fact, the entire Vadavara region, with all of the megalithic structures, ruins, and carvings, has long been considered an evil place by Christian believers. Hence, much of the structures and art were deliberately destroyed. Nevertheless, there are many people who appreciate the strong energy of the place and regularly visit it to meditate and connect with the ancient spirits believed to inhabit the area. Tell us what you think about the Vadavara Mountain, also known as the Death Mountain. Do you believe there's some kind of unknown energy causing the strange deformation of all of the twisted trees? And do you think all of these stone ruins are the remains of a prehistoric civilization that built a massive complex in this area, or it's just a natural formation? When most people think of geoglyphs, vast ground drawings visible only from above, their minds turn to the famous Nazca lines of Peru. Yet across the vast expanse of Russia, particularly in the Ural Mountains and Siberia, equally baffling ground formations have been identified. With much of the Russian interior remote, forested, and inaccessible, these features often remained unnoticed until modern tools allowed researchers to scan wide territories at once. The Zhuratkul elk stands as Russia's most thoroughly studied geoglyph. Initial excavations in 2011 to 2012 by a team from the Institute of History and Archaeology of the Russian Academy of Sciences revealed a carefully constructed outline made by placing white stones into trenches. Radiocarbon dating of associated charcoal suggested an age between 3,000 and 8,000 years, placing it in the Neolithic or Early Bronze Age. So even if we take the most conservative dating, around 3,000 years ago, the elk is at least as old as the earliest Nazca figures. If the higher end of estimates is correct, 8,000 years ago, it would be several millennia older, making it one of the oldest known geoglyphs in the world. At 275 meters long, 900 feet, the elk ranks among the largest animal geoglyphs in the world. Its orientation, positioned along the slope of the Zhuratkul Ridge, suggests it was meant to be seen from higher ground or even from the sky. Some archaeologists speculate that it served ritual or symbolic purposes tied to hunting. The elk has long been a sacred animal for Finno-Ugric and Siberian cultures, symbolizing both sustenance and cosmic order. Interestingly, the figure's proportions shift depending on viewing angle. From above, the legs look elongated, while from the ridge opposite, they appear more natural. This distorted perspective technique is also observed in the Nazca lines and other geoglyphs, suggesting that their creators understood how terrain and angle would affect perception. The geoglyphs of Russia join a worldwide tradition of monumental landscape art. From the Nazca lines in Peru to the Uffington White Horse in England, from Chile's Atacama Giant to Bolivia's Sajama lines, cultures across time have shaped the earth into symbols best seen from above. What unites these far-flung examples is their audacity of scale. They suggest a world view where humans, earth, and sky were interwoven. Long before recorded history, there were advanced ancient civilizations, capable of building gigantic megalithic structures we can't build today, lifting enormous stone blocks weighing thousands of tons and stacking them with laser-like precision. Blocks we still struggle to lift even with our modern cranes. They crafted mathematically precise, flawless monuments from the hardest stone on Earth, leaving us to wonder who these builders were and how they accomplished the impossible. Were they merely primitive societies, or were they masters of a forgotten technology lost to the sands of time? Uncover the evidence of an ancient, global, and technologically sophisticated civilization that once ruled over our planet, constructing gigantic sites the ruins of which are still standing, before a cataclysmic event erased it from memory. Access our ebook, Prehistoric Megastructures, a nearly 500-page volume packed with images and in-depth analysis of some of the most astonishing and unexplained ancient structures ever discovered, monuments that were clearly built with advanced technology from a time long forgotten. There's a limited discount on the ebook, so make sure to get yours before it's too late.